I said, empty your mind.
I don't think you heard him. I don't think you heard him.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash.
One more time, for one more time.
Empty your mind.
Open your mind, bitch.
Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Water, my friend.
Oh, but
Yeah, flight boss. I only see the astro with these eyes. This shit by flight boss travels through the sky. I ain't coming from the dead, but I'm actually gonna rise. It's another light source that you happen to realize. As I move through the course, using the force, pin the tail on a donkey. I fuck you like a horse. That's right. Get my news from the source, motherfucker middleman. Cause the oversouls only know about their genesis. If I was here waiting the beginning when niggas wasn't in no specific spot, they had to pretend they was in a box, beginning to end, but the shit ain't stopped. Became a lord when the shit start taking shape and form. You need to build your armor cause they waging war. Full moon, what the fuck you think is raining for? I'm the predator, so watch what you praying for. Archangel Uriel, the one with the flaming sword. Cutting shit in half like it's cold. Damn. Cutting shit in half like it's dope. Cutting shit in half like it's quotes. Cutting shit in half when I float. In a fire and a flame, got you flying out your brains. When I start to brainstorm, you can see the rain pour. Had to build a body, what you think I'm in a plane for? Watch out when I look for a landing. Nigga to you, I just look like a planet. Bitch, I'm the one that be causing a lunar eclipse. DoelowDaPilotman flew in this ship and got two in the hip. How I came to this earth, Independence Day is the movie I picked. You can see that weird motherfucker shit flying through the sky. You get a pick. I your soul been here for 100,000 years. What you do to this shit? Wake up, yo, you need some enlightenment. Remember when I used to be in the Titan, the evilest tyrants? They was perceived as the highest, believe they was giants. You niggas Satan, but they call you David. They made you believe that you beat up your life. Got you thinking just to overcome situations, thinking like you need some balance, pieces of balance. Cause goddamn, I need the whole thing. Bitch, I've been the soul with no train or no plane. Now we in the age of Aquarius. Now everybody flies that astrology kite. Nobody cares about your imagination, just long as the technology right. As long as you got the new phone with a camera that can see your face pimples. And suck dick so much till you niggas can't whistle for straight nickels. I refuse to be a fucking slave to the system. Got a space transport free to travel on a plane out like a prism. I'm about to get him. I've been in the action like Bruce Lee. Shit, I'm kicking his magic. Slip through the fabric. A reality.
Fatality.
Into the dragon. Rifles.
the best rapper alive, bitch. Oh, don't fuck that. It's impossible for you. It's impossible for you to be the best rapper alive on this land. I'm gonna tell you that right on this soil. Get back on the boat. Let's get into how to be a goddamn AHTMOSDYEPI. 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 Oh, that's it. That's it. It's in your head like an ABC now. N B C D AHTMOSDYEPI. AHTMOSDYEPI. Oh, that's it. That's it. Everybody in space. Everybody get ready to create this new glorified organ central system. Be something greater than a monkey. I think it's something be greater than a monkey. A monkey. Oh, but you go into the space. You on your way. Hey. You on your way. And no further than that. Other than that, we're gonna get into how to, start thinking more evolved while you're utilizing the mind and the organ that you in, and you were supposed to have been on that path. You may have got taken off that path based upon other circumstances, other situations, lineages being crippled. Really not about that, but it's about starting now and understanding what you should have never left off of. And ain't no time to be playing blame game and things of that nature. So, pick up your esoteric cross and get up and motherfucking walk. And that's what we get ready to talk about. And it's going to allow you to understand the actual context of that internal perception that you have when it actually means walking on water, where you create a lighter form that you externalize from the inside out, but it's still within your mind. That's a man, and that man could walk on any form of condensity of multiple men becoming an emotion, and that's a woman that be beneath your feet, that sometimes you could drown in and sink in that fruit in your teeth. And then for the most part, that's when you go to sleep, and you could be wide awoke, but you're getting rocked to sleep in some way, shape, or form based upon being easily persuaded by whatever emotional funk you was in. So you could be drowning spiritually, but for the most part, we're going to teach y'all how to walk on water. But I actually had that idea as a concept to know that this is a mind state. When we agree as a teamwork makes the dream work, it become the atmosphere and the environment that we start utilizing to create a new organ, aka a glorified body, and be able to be those representations that can, you know, suck from that atmosphere that is we created from the inside out. And that's how we extend ourselves and reach the motherfucking esoteric aid. Here's the thing. I don't want everybody thinking that this is some circumstance that ain't got nothing to do with reality or physical life. When these things is practiced right now, you'll start to see your circumstances become better, aka you evolving out of flunked out ass thoughts, flunked out ass actions, and having more motivation to participate with something. You already adding those bubbles to the atmosphere that's getting ready to condense to become in the environment, and us to be motivated to take those actions. Then it'll be a slow process of that being an actual new world, but we could be in that motherfucker right now. You could be doing some shit no human ever did right now. You see what I'm saying? So it's already just putting yourself into the circumstance of getting your mind, getting your spirit as that size. Anytime you expand and contract, you expand out of a mind state. You contract within a mind state. When you do that a lot, look at that as you having experiences physically, and you just developing more awarenesses as a spiritual individual, creating a mind first. And when it condenses through the physical form and you emanate your energy through your star, your body, that's when it just becomes experiences. When you're more expanded, you're developing more layers that it becomes comprehension. And if your spirit is always within a mind, a layer and fruit, and then for the most part, you're within it experiencing all the physical forms of it, which is this third dimension from the inside out, seeing things through your own layer. So when you expand and contract, aka have more experiences than other individuals, your spirit expanded utilizing the same material that other individuals got. The ability to think and build blood and adrenaline and motivation to go for whatever that they're creating if it's relatable. If it's not relatable and sync, 9 times out of 10, they're going to get unmotivated before they even reach the finish line or whatever they're doing and get unfulfilled. But for the most part, it's about being in a situation where the more you expand it into new situations and coming up with new ways how to deal with current and previous situations, your spirit expand. So when you die from that mind and that body going to the ground, that mind going to the atmosphere, those bubbles, and your spirit has the size to develop a greater comprehension. Now you're going to have familiar sizes. So you're going to have familiar comprehensions that you create as mental awarenesses that condense and be familiar organs also. But you're able to have similar, but less on a percentage scale of the experience from the previous circumstance that you develop. And that's a slow process of evolution that we are experiencing. But for the most part, before we even get to making new organs and stuff like that, you can make your life and your lifestyle a new circumstance right now and be in that presence. So that for the most part, you can experience glimpses of what you're creating for the future. Because for the most part, if you are a child of someone, you are the ancestor. And then for the most part, if you got children, you know what I'm saying, they're your ancestor. So you need to keep that in mind. So we're just on borrowed time. So if you're the older individual, you're on borrowed time. But you're always creating something for the future so you can live in that's much better than your current circumstance. So that's the whole issue with becoming a spiritual adult and how you're conducting a landmass. Now, becoming an atmospheric body. Now, you have to understand what you actually are in a nutshell. So it's you being a spirit, and we're always in the form of a swimming pool. So you're just experiencing layers of life. So when you look at it in a physical form, you see it's the same substance. Teamwork makes the dream work. We all create a thought. But then we see we all have our own way of going about it. So if you understand the holy, you understand that's what's actually going down on too. So the other layer ain't something like it's outside of something. How y'all be looking at the universe or whatever the case may be. You know, something thin and less layer is when compared to when it collapse after it's condensing within each other and then become a cloud and water. But it's the same thing. So you're looking at a layer of life. Now, a lot of people might be like, well, no, that ain't what Jesus is talking about or whatever. See, you're getting too lost. I'm trying to attach y'all to the physicality before spiritual, whatever the case may be. You can actually see sea creatures living in that level of life that's more condensed water. You can actually see land creatures living in that level of life, which is less dense water. We can actually see it's the same substance that's evaporating and condensing as rain. So for the most part, you're looking at us peeling back layers, and the less layers you have, the more comprehension you have access to life based upon that organ that you made as a spiritual grouping. So these are things you see in reality. You don't have to actually say pseudo just because y'all don't know how to go down these trains of thoughts and line of reasoning due to the institutionalizing of the train of thought of Alexandria. And they got a lot of knowledge too. You know what I'm saying? When I say them, that don't mean just outright throw everybody's out knowledge. Everybody got something to add to the table. It's just when you could use your authority sometimes, that's when we got to come back. But when it comes to the esoteric roundtable, though, we all got the ability to add to it and things of that nature. And everybody is intelligent in their own way, as long as they ain't got the degenerate percentage scale too high. You know what I'm saying? But we are degenerates to a certain degree, just by being here. So you have to learn how to evolve those degeneracies, but really act it out, not hide it and still do it. Like act out actually changing from being degenerate. So there's a lot of encapsulated thoughts and things of that nature that's dealing with the human train of thought that, you as spirits, it's time for y'all to expand out of it. Like, you too busy still trying to be Hootie and a Blowfish and shit like that, and it's time to become an evolved creature. But you have to start that process. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll just be stuck in dormant, and then there'll be other shit taking all kind of other forms, emanating other atmospheres and environments, and then you won't know why you get resistant on any level, all the way down to a bug, a parasite, and an animal. So this is where this is where this existence come from, where an animal can't survive in another area, or a bug can't survive in another area, or some parasite or something can't survive within a limit, out of the limits of their habitat or something like that. That's where these things actually come from. So the atmosphere is our esoteric paintbrush, right? So look at it like this. We're spirits, but we're emanating awarenesses. Awareness is the substance. So the less dense layer of it, which we're calling the imagination, that's just how it appears to be. But it's just you grabbing your pocket of the atmosphere and condensing it. So it can become wind, water, blood, organ. You know what I'm saying? Boom, man. This what you're doing. Your esoteric coil system. The moment you stop caring, you get detached from what you are in the first place and things of that nature. So everybody is on this process. Everybody, all species is brothers and sisters. So everybody is spirits first. Then everybody create the mind first. Then minds collide with other minds within these pockets of spaces. So when other spaces become aware with their own mind, they could be within a world of a spirit that had been on the washing machine cycle before them. This would create a system of being able to live through someone and be born in an external world once you live what they have previously already have left behind, like the mind, the atmosphere, and the environment, the body. Now you make your own idea, connect with that idea that you're born within, in your pocket, that you was already born in a pocket, a space that someone already created substance in, and then for the most part you become a new version of that thing, right? And then this is where we get in that concept also, right? So this how we even created a situation of being able to portal each other through each other, so you don't get lost into this, oh, everything from the woman or everything come from the man or something like that. No, y'all getting lost. We're creating mechanisms first, and then how we're experiencing it now is just because we created more duplicate layers and more type of remix ways to do it. So you got spiders, the way they have sex, the way we have it, the way with it. But it's all of us as spirits is doing it with the mind first. Then the mind condensed as the physical. Then the physical, we do external or other representations of that we'll get too lost in that if we live backwards and get blinded into what we actually doing due to the fact that whatever we doing, basing it on the bias of what suit us or what's bad for us. And then for the most part, we don't truly find an equilibrium, even in those situations where we know that it's something for the greater good, but we're too lost into our own investment to be able to see that it might be something we have to sacrifice that ain't good for us, but for later on down the road, it might be something that's a greater goal. And for the most part, we'd be too much in the ego. We never reach that situation or circumstance due to the fact of that spoiled energy in our mind and not allowing life to take its course. You know what I'm saying? So you'll never truly develop the true knowledge that you need to develop. So these are natural traits that you can utilize right now being a human, but for the most part, this is non-human thought. And this is how even if an alligator became another thing, you know what I'm saying? Well, something like it. So the thing that was before it, whatever came after it is something like what came before it. And the thing that was after it was something like that before that thing came in. So that's why you was something like a monkey, but you wasn't a monkey. That was something like, and I'm just using that as an example. You know what I'm saying? But you're not part of that kind. But when it comes to having a common, what they call that, a common strand, a common thing, right? Every species first body is the mind. I turned the notification off, so if that was Cashapp, I appreciate that, and I'll look into it also. But for the most part, all of our first bodies is the mind, and each spiritual root race pocket develop their own mathematics of teamwork makes the dream work and subjective bias mind states to interact it. So they're all doing the same thing, just in their own way. So, there's a whole root race that can be born from something that ain't necessarily that root race. We're talking about spiritually. So when we just talk about the human root race, right? Fuck the third dimension and your ethnicities at the moment. Just the mathematics of a group of spirits being in that pocket in the esoteric world. So coming up with those similar mind states, being born within a pocket of spirits that did that before you, that had something like those type of mind states. So it been then it became something like those organs. So you're able to live within a world, right? So an atmosphere and a body, a person, and you being able to act out those same things in your microwave. Within that person, you got that same quality. You could bring the washing machine cycle and be ushering in people the same way you get ushered back in the washing machine cycle, right? A person in their first body could connect with your first body. And if they're being aware after you, they can live inside of you and then be born out in your world. And then for the most part, they do the same thing with you. So this is how your if you're the child, you're the parent ancestor. And if you got children, your children is the ancestor. Now, here's the thing. It's not always necessarily your ancestor due to the fact of what's ever on your mind. And what's ever in your mind represent what spiritual space you in. And if you was living backwards, Walt Disney may have put something on your mind to allow your spirit to be misplaced. And then, I don't want to say make mistakes, but the mathematics of whatever group of spirits that was in that awareness or whatever the case may be, and you might have been just like that spirit, bring that type of concept down, or bring that type of children down, or you was brought down in that same type of circumstance, which is why you probably would rebel 75 to 95% of whatever your parents was into, and things of that nature. So it's like that. So you're a part of somebody else's spiritual soul group, but you didn't match it. You just had similar desires, and the people you had shared the most similar desires with, you're going to manifest similar bloods and similar features, and it moved less and less on a percentage scale, but still more than other individuals. So the next line of event may be your friends and your enemies. Next line of event is people you're aware of, but not aware of enough to probably say hi to, but you probably are aware of them that it could develop like that because they like the store clerk or whatever like that in your neighborhood. Then it extends to after that people you can see that other people can't see just because you live in the same city, but it ain't nobody you care to meet anyway. Then it extend, you know what I'm saying? All that play out in the spiritual world first. When all of us just get lost from our spiritual soul group energy and then get all mixed up due to the fact of what we've been doing physically and not understanding that the first layers is what we're supposed to understand spiritually. And we're developing the mind. So spirit is the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension. We develop the mind. Something to be, we fulfilled our spiritual empty pocket. That becomes the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Then that condense and become the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. So that's birth, life, death. Birth, the spirit got the ability to create awareness. Life, the more you think and feel, you're creating more life. And then when that condense, it has an expiration date, the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, to move slow in vibration for us to experience that. So you live longer by emanating more life. So the more thought, the more feeling you got, that's in sync and relatability to the holy and things that's outside of you, that's in sync. Then for the most part, you create more life organs, more lively organs, more organs that's more comprehended and stuff like that for y'all to even be humans at the moment. All right. So your spirit is harnessing bubbles, right? And each bubble is a thought form. This is even what we call in chakras and things of that nature. But if y'all want to get lost in that, I'm trying to make it simple for y'all. And the more you harness it, it's like different temperaments. So temperaments is your moods, but temperaments is your internal temperature. So when you make one bubble here, now you're making multiple bubbles. But when those spheres come together, right, one may have more material in it than the other, density level, or one may have let's just use salt, esoteric concept of a salt, aka a different thought form that may resist this thought form. So, but both of those is in your space of thought form. You're creating fermentation. That fire water is creating evaporation, condensing, evaporation, condensing. So that's steam. You're creating steam, but you're creating a way to harness your bubbles so your bubbles stay in your area. Or each bubble will become scattered when you ain't a steamy person, a person that know how to focus on each bubble. And then the reason why you can't focus on each bubble, thought and feeling, is because it's all over the place and you're just trying to find relatability based upon being in survival mode of what Walt Disney may have taught us. But when you're a steamy person, it's because these things don't affect you. Like the 3rd dimension, you don't allow too much external representations to affect you from what you're harnessing, that you know that's the original goal for anybody to be affected by anything external or to make a profit off of it. So the more you know how to take this thought, but keep it in your space, no matter how resistance there is, you're trying to find relatability and synchronizing with each bubble. So it could be one water wave going in one direction. So that's you creating mathematics of things, right? And then for the most part, you harnessing bubbles, it condense and become fleshly fluids, your adrenaline, your blood, and things of that nature. So when you have a whole bunch of ones that you don't know, you're not steamy, right? It's because each one ain't something that you're gun-hold on, so you end up becoming scatterbrain. So when you become scatterbrain, bubbles is all over the place, and you just be a spirit that's all over the place, lost and stuff like that, and trying to find Hubble spots, trying to find sun pockets and shit like that. Find something to drink to and shit like that. Find something to connect to. And it's the early stages of what created the esoteric parasite or the esoteric vampire. So you have lost yourself from you developing your own mind, so you even know what it looked like to get around spirits that's like-minded, and then you're just stumbling based upon error, and hopefully it get made up along the way and things of that nature. So there's going to be a lot of victim shaming, a lot of self-entitlement going, a lot of like that you're going to be failing more under another until you get out of that loopy-loop system. This is the inability for a soul, an individual space, which is a spirit, because we all got a space. So multiple means spirit, individual means soul, so solo. This is the lack of an ability to harness one's own bubbles so it can start creating the realm, the world for itself, so actually have a ground to mine, so it can start digging for gold and things of that nature. You don't even get to that level unless you know how to ferment. So you got to know how to ferment to produce a seed to even play out that more micro scale of that same energy, germinate. Ferment in the spiritual world takes water and fire. Seed get produced as air, and then the air is the masculine seed, so it's light as a mustard seed, and then wherever you plant it at is something you grounded on, and that become the esoteric platform, the esoteric potent, and stuff like that. So for the most part, you have to make it by fermentating though. So you need something to fermentate. Now, if you ain't got nothing to fermentate, sit back right now. Go find a purpose. A purpose is you aligning yourself and being in sync of what you know you're incapable of, but what you're paying attention to. So it's going to be something that you start to pay attention to without no one having to tell you, hey, I want to do this, but I lack this to be able to do it. And I know I need this to be able to do it. And the more you try to go for it and find it, you're going to go through those shedding situations, Pharaoh initiation situations, the real genuine versions of death. You're killing your internal mental beasts and bodies you're in. And when you look at it that way, even rejection, you know, these are learning processes, and don't react to it and create a toxic emotion for yourself to carry around with to rotten other seeds to germinate. Because right now you're trying to ferment. And then when you're going in these situations, right, you're either going to reach situations where you can't see it, or you get it as a crumb, or figure out how to do it better if you was in that position. All of that is fermentation, fermentation, fermentation. Now you got some secretion oil, or you got a position, or whatever the case may be when it comes into something, or something to walk around with. Now that you got the fermentation, right, that's you having, it's like a bubble that condensed with another bubble, or whatever the case may be, and then now you got some new type of awareness of however it look. So I know it's like kind of weird, because y'all be like, well, bubbles, you know what I'm saying, but bubbles and shit like that, but at some point, that's what it is, because the atmosphere is water. You know what I'm saying? The atmosphere is actually water. So when you're looking at that in that kind of concept, each bubble, and you know how to ferment it, you put it together, and those bubbles rubbing together, that you having different thoughts, different feelings coming together to try to make it relatable, that's steam. That steam is the first substance, and then that's the fermentation. Now the fermentation is like something you create from the inside out, but it's still in your inner world. It's just a condensing once something ferment, like you like extracted something. And once you extracted it, it's the very substance that become now that steam in the air. It's the substance. Now you got seed. Now you got seed, and then the seed need to be planted. But without fermentation, you're not even going to have a seed, and you're going to be somewhere trying to buy seeds at an esoteric plant or garden that someone else know how to do it better than you and shit like that. You see what I'm saying? So fermentation is just basically finding your secretion oils. Then once you focus your secretion oils in a particular spot, this is what I don't got, this is my testimony, and then this is what I want to express. If I'm a basketball player, if I'm a volleyball player, if I'm a drawer, if I'm an astrologer, or whatever the case may be, right? You're focusing, you put all of that secretion oil into the seed, aka all that fire and water, evaporation and condensing into a direction. And when it went, it blew in the wind, but all that stuff, it play out like now the forms of the seed. And wherever the wind blow is where the seed's going to land. So wherever your thought, your focus, your attention's on is where the seed going to land. So you have no choice but to become intelligent on something that even if you're doing that's negative, because you're paying attention to it for too long. So when we in a spiritual space, we always have this kind of concept where we get good at it. But if you're in that space too long and it's a negative seed, you get good at being a hater, or you get good at being someone that's just negative. You know what I'm saying? You'll be a person that don't like something about yourself. You'll find something to like about everything. I mean, something to dislike about everything, or that nature. And you'll find you'll put yourself into a situation where you don't understand. You're trying to find something to dislike. You're trying to find something to disagree with. And it's because you can't find a way to open up what you're disagreeing with yourself. So you got to keep that in mind too. So it puts you in a circumstance. Hold on, I gotta use the restroom. I use the restroom. So basically when you're harnessing bubbles and things of that nature, that's basically what you're doing. You're harnessing mind states. You're harnessing thought forms. And when your spirit is you doing that and these condense and become an organ, just like that, the body end up having an expiration date, but the spirit never lose its ability to be able to do that process. So that's what you're keeping as an ability. Not you don't keep the actual thought, you don't keep the actual body, you keep the actual ability. You see what I'm saying? And then when you lack developing abilities, when you did make a mind and a body, you lack expanding in that life frame amongst your spiritual root race to be able to present or come back in that washing machine cycle to show others how to do something new that slowly but surely become the new organs that you start to become too as a spiritual root race, emanating each other and coming in new species and coming in new beings and coming in new circumstances and shit like that. So you got to understand that too. So it's just a whole concept about understanding what you're harnessing and just looking at it from that aspect. This is how you can see people is in scatterbrains or whatever the case may be, and that goes for religions, that goes for politics, that goes for whatever people have some type of agreement towards or whatever the case may be, and even jealous spirits and stuff like that that just invested into using military to shadow ban people and other case may be. But yet this knowledge still alone allows you to be able to compare and contrast between who's a charlatan and who's ain't. Who's a bullshitter and who's ain't, and things of that nature. So you can start setting yourself up to be in a circumstance of not allowing your tax dollars or allowing you to even fund any type of circumstance that got anything to do with that. You see what I'm saying? So I want to keep that in mind too, because this it's a spiritual warfare going on out here that ain't really got nothing to do with no one spiritual except you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just people playing games and people being retarded. So you want to make sure you be as strong as possible. So when it comes to business, entertainment, education, religion, and politics, you show the world and compare and contrast what it actually looks like. So no one get away with no goddamn bullshit. And then it'll be up here making you think the world is retarded. And then they got y'all listening to stupid shit. And then they put a whole bunch of stupid stuff on it to make it seem like that's important or whatever the case may be. But you know goddamn well it ain't goddamn important. And for the most part, whatever they doing to me or other individuals, you know that they just gonna have to be doing that with everybody because no one gives a fuck about that shit. So it's like some forced shit or whatever the case may be. And then they put themselves into some like competition with people type of shit. You know what I'm saying? That ain't nobody got no business doing that. So at some point, it really ain't no spiritual warfare. It's really retarded. But if you want to play people game and use stupid words, you can say that. But it really ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, what you need to do is understand how to harness mind form, so you have a mind goal or whatever the case may be. And this is how you stay tapped into the AHTMOSDYEPI. Or this is how you start to become that actual thought form, or you start to actually start to process that, and then you start to feel like you're floating, or you start to feel like, you know, you're here, you are part of something. Because look at everything like just a less dense layer of what you see as the condensity of water. So that's what you're in as a substance, as wind and things of that nature. Is this like you're swimming? Your brain and your organs is really like what's actually the next formation. I know you probably get lost in your body, and y'all got lost in reflection, and, pardon me, and stuff like that. But really, it's just your spirit inside of your mind, and it condensing and becoming like little organs and shit like that. But you always in some type of swimming pool. So your mind is the bubble, but you just see it as an imagination, or you just see it as something you're in, or you just see it as, you see what I'm saying? As it's a mass. So you see the tail end once you emanate it. You know what I'm saying? Even though the words wasn't created for that terminology, but you know, just play on words, semantics. But at the same time, that's what it is. So you're actually creating something to be inside of. You're creating your own container. And the container is so less and dense, right? It connect with other containers. But these are truly bubbles. And so the waters above is the air. So let's say if I'm teaching you this, but I'm saying it in my terminology and my language. But I'm just going to transmute it and goddamn it English, but just give y'all the comparing and contrasting of the mind frame. So let's say you lost in English, right? And you say the water's above, the water's below. And then somebody say the water's above is the air. Now, in your mind, you're going to start thinking about space, and you're going to start thinking about other consciousness and stuff, like other stupid stuff. Or you might start thinking about whatever NASA taught you, or however the case may be. But truly, in my mind, really all I'm saying is we ain't even got to be looking at the sky. Just right above the water. We're around some water or something like that. The water above the water that's float, that's like you can swim in, that's the water above. So it's just air, the wind. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't really that. You see what I'm saying? If you go deep, then try to go simple, you get lost. So you won't know we just all share the same space. And really, the less dense is what y'all calling above, and the heavy dense is what y'all calling below. But it ain't really that. Is, you see what I'm saying? That's why you can see something lighter and it float. So for the most part, it's like that type of situation. Yeah, don't get lost in what you win because of the metaphysics of it. You see what I'm saying? So it's purely just that. So when you look at your mind and your brain, it's the same circumstance. Your mind is the cloud, the bubbles, and your brain is the environment, where it condensed to be as the substance, to move slow as a vibration. So that came first, then the brain. So as a spirit, you're always harnessing bubbles, and the more you know how to fermate for the experience, for life, the fruit, it condenses and becomes the goddamn it, blood flow or organ or condensing or concentration, juices and things of that nature. So that's what you are. You're like a plump fruit. You know what I'm saying? You're like a walking fruit that you're giving life to and things. That's what your organs is. Your organs look like fruits. But everything is an animal, a plant, a fruit, everything is evolved fruit. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta look at it like that. Everything is evolved fruit. You're just an evolved fruit. Everything is evolved fruit. So like when y'all even kidney meat or whatever the case may be, all of this is evolved fruit. You know what I'm saying? When fruit evolve, it turn into meat. You know what I'm saying? When meat evolve, it do the washing machine cycle. It turn into back to the spermacide, and then we get to do new farming. So new species grow, new plants grow, and all that type of stuff. But everything truly come from plant first, those first animals. You know what I'm saying? We create from the inside out. So anything we create outside that we created, that's the thing we need to eat off of and stuff. So even if we take it, like for an example, I'm like a bird at this moment because I did so much evolutions outside of Yahlahuè. And in the little cycle, I'm caught in the cycle of Yahlahuè breath. But at this point, I didn't became a bird. But let me make this simple for y'all, right? You ever, it's like a bee going from little flower to flower to flower as a nectar. Our mind is the less layer, and our spirit is just where we always at. You just get lost into your duplications and low vibrations of the world. So you create your mind first. That's everybody's first body that we share the absolute world with, heavenly waters. Then we got all our little pockets that it appear to be like we somewhere that we really ain't, but it's just the physical condensing of that spiritual root race, the physical organ of the body that's really stationary in this area from this type of level of comprehension, right? So let's say this the holy earth. Now in the holy earth, we all share the absolute earth, but based upon your layering, that's your level of comprehension. So we all share one existence, just different worlds, just different minds that condense into different organs in that relative pocket and layering system, whether you're in something and something in you, right? So there's like the 3 layers. So when you get into your mind, look at it like this. Let's say, I'm trying to make this make sense to y'all for you right now. If you a person that, let's say there was a world underneath this world, and there's a sky and stuff like that, and let's say a person died, right, and became like a being, and let's say you start living within that being, right, or however the case may be. Your mind is your first body. So look at your mind as that being a little bee and trying to find nectar. So you're going to flower to flower to flower. But you're in a world you kind of don't understand. Now, you as a human, you're in like a rooted low vibrational circumstance. But this is what's truly happening, right? Because we always have to become each little small thing of the atmosphere of the new mind and organ we're trying to relate to, the way that move of spirits that's already in that world. So the moment we get trained up mentally, the spirit expand and contract to those type of abilities to make that type of mathematical mind state, to make that type of organ, to live in that type of representation. Same way how we're bringing children inside of us and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I always make that example. Like the fish could be in the pond, and you could go get a pet fish to put in your fish tank, but they're more in their first body. That's why they're brain food. So their first body is the mind. They still think they swimming with the pack, but they're going to start doing so much stray stuff in that water in their first body, their physical body, that they got less access to. You're more rooted into your physical body, and you think you got less access to your mind because you don't know how to do it like that. AHTMOSDÍYEPI, how I'm trying to teach y'all. But eventually, once it be so much of a stray, it lead the family fish pack and end up disappearing, and then it's going to play out as that fish dying in your fish tank. Whether it look like the other fish start attacking it, or just it gets sick, or whatever the case may be, and you don't know why. It the mind gone. The fish is more in their first body first, the mind, and then the organ body. Y'all like that too, but you have to learn how to get back to that level. Y'all get too lost into the rooted body. You forget how to, you lost the layer of the first layer of the world, the spirit, the mind, and then the second layer, the body. You got too lost into the body, still being in the first layer, just not knowing how to understand it and stuff like that. So you start making more organs to go to that kind of concept. And this is why it's always a washing machine cycle, especially every 300 years, for spirits to say I'm back, to remind y'all that your spirit is supposed to be expanding and contracting in broader forms, not organ implosion. Spirit being tracked in one mind state, and that same type of blood adrenaline is bending into the organs that mathematical mind state already made. So it can only put too much blood flow in that same pocket, and it agitate the organs. You know what I'm saying? And it agitate it because the organ ain't being externally fluid out. It's being put into that same pocket in the same mathematics it already made to be born that way. So it used the same type of mind state to get over with the body, and whatever it think is getting over externally, it implode itself internally. And the harder a person have to go for externally, the faster their organ implode. And so if they're lying a lot, something might be with their throat chakra or their lungs. Something happened to their voice. If they robbed a lot of people with money, but they wasn't in a position of having a lie. They get arthritis real fast, or frozen kneecaps and stuff. It's hard to move, bad hips, bad bitch hips and stuff like that. If they was like one of the brainstormers of everything and stuff like that, something happened to they brain first, right? Where they be the first person that go retarded, and they was the smartest person first, but something happened to their brain or something like that. But that's why it's important not to practice no cult practices, especially if you don't know how to do these things. If it's your culture, is done righteously. If it's done for cult practices and getting over other people, you always built in curses for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because your only starting point is organ implosion. So your blood don't be a well-oiled running machine, because your mind ain't a well-oiled running machine. You know what I'm saying? So your spinning wheel cycle becomes stifled, stuck. Your layering system become deficient. Because you are a layer. Your skin, tissue, and stuff like that, that's a fruit. Anything with a layer is considered a fruit. Know what I'm saying? Or animal. But these things are the same thing. I'm saying a fruit, animal is just an evolved fruit, plant. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. We're building layers and being able to experience it and stuff like that. But it's truly what we create, we externalize and attract to that also. So that's how even mosquitoes is made. The same concept that I just broke down with Yahlahuè is even how mosquitoes is made. An animal or a human died by a body of water. The blood trickled into a pocket of that water. Whatever spirit wasn't aware yet, when they start to become aware with their own mind, that mathematics that they're aware of, as your spirit size being an animal or human, you probably did that thousands of years ago. So they found the little mathematics of your mind condensed into your blood and organs that's in the water pocket and piggyback off that. So they become something like you once was. And now they have the organ from the mind that now you got mosquitoes. So now they did the same thing in the spiritual world, just connected their minds in a world that spirits already became aware in their space, their nothingness, and made something in it. So they on that same cycle. So now we do that physically. They only going to see it as sex. But I'm using a mosquito as an example because on that level of life, it's closer to our mind states. So you can see that the same thing you create from the inside out and what you use part of your mental mathematics to be a part of is the same thing you need to survive. So for more mosquitoes to be here, what do they need? Human blood. So when a mosquito go take an animal or a human blood, they're on the same process naturally, just like a baby being born, and you ain't got to tell it to suck on the mother's nipple or put the bottle in its mouth and tell it to, hey, you have to swallow like this. These are natural things that the spirit already know that is developing from the mind and the organs before you get lost in old MacDonald had a farm at 18 years old, and I read an Alexandra book, and Aleister Crowley taught me how to be a man concepts, but I'm a woman. Nobody got time for that. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at it from that aspect, now you can see the mathematics of the mind is condensing and becoming the DNA. And the DNA is a replica of the mind. You can't separate those things. You can't say the brain was first. You can't say, because it will be situations where you could look in a father or a mother and be like, yeah, your sperm means you only can have this amount of kids. And looking at a female, be like, you only gonna have this amount of kids, right? And if they are coming up with science like that, they're saying it for you to believe it. So when you go to the hospital, they actually make that true for your ass. Eugenics, bitch. But other than that, you need to understand that they can't do that. So that means the fleshly fluids of the sperm and the egg cells themselves get created in thought. Then when thoughts collide and condense, there's enough of them, these becoming chakras, all the way down to the root chakra. What's first shall be last, last shall be first. What you thought of first from the spirit to fulfill your pocket, to make that mind inside of your spirit, that actually was first, but then when it condensed into the physical world, it appeared to be the last thing. So this is why y'all so clinged on to the root chakra and the root desires of manifesting from the world, even beyond sex and attraction of things and with materialism and stuff so much. Because what's first shall be last, last shall be first. What was first became the goddamn root chakra. So that's the last thing you even really give a fuck about. And everything else It's just ways to get the root chakra shit done. So this is why y'all childish in the mind, because in the crown chakras and shit, because y'all don't know how to harness it the right way, because it's all over the place. So y'all create egotism, fake Lucifer concepts and stuff like that, Brita kind of crown shit, how y'all be lost in type of stuff when you think you got authority over people. It's AKA the spirit ain't evolved yet to know what it's doing when it got a new attribute that another spirit had to come back and show you how to make. So you got this, I'm in another grade, but I wish I had this idea when I was in a previous grade. Hey, I can do it on my own will. Aleister Crowley, what he said, type of circumstance. Do as I say, not as I do, bitch. And then for the most part, we get the birth of degenerate seed. Degenerate seed in reality and stuff like that. Bitch, I'm the sad guru on this soil over here. No, I'm saying, I'm gonna tell you that right now. This saves lives. This saves everybody. This brings everybody together, and everybody don't got to be in no ego. Everybody got a position. Yeah, this is what I do. It's people out here who better than me in their position, and that we supposed to come together. We ain't supposed to be in competition. That's somebody putting us in a psyop, and both of us might not give a fuck, or all of us might not give a fuck about that shit once it's said and done. And do we all know what they did to Prince? Do we all know what they did to Michael Jackson? All right, then. So we ain't got time for none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? We're creating healthy new Machiavelli books, healthy new Robert Greene shit. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they join along and shit, and update some shit. Because this shit right here, because I got my own way of speaking about things, and it's more in the context of my people, doesn't mean it's not important. We matter too. And a lot of times when these things is practiced, you can see your actual life having healthier outcomes and stuff like that. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. And I don't see how people can't be plucking from shit and looking at, they should be scouting themselves. I know if I done wrong, I'll be scouting myself, because I already do that. The amount of strangers I made close and I can see in the future that I can make family out of and stuff like that. It's like, that's what anybody in a superior position is supposed to be doing. And people want to read books and act like they gods and stuff. That's stuff they supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Not people on the grounds. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. People who ain't funded about nothing, but we, for some reason, we don't even care about that. We make it happen, and we're doing everything the right way. You know what I'm saying? So that should be respected. But at some point, look at we're in the water, and your mind is your first body, the bubble, and that dies too. And a lot of times you be losing ligaments, aka thought forms and stuff like that. But so the world is what we make it, because it condenses and become the actual atmosphere and the environment we make organs to be able to survive in. And then you can make replicates. You can make replicates of it, right? AKA be an extension of that now. So this one be more at ease. And you know what I'm saying? Because there's a difference how y'all looking at things in the external world when y'all get lost in these words. So when you hear me say things like self-serving or self-service, you would think self-service means sacrificing yourself, and then listen to Robert Greene and then try to make sense because you're a narc in your mind about how self-serving is better. But when you practice things internally first, anything you was looking for that you try to create a shortcut or monetary gain, it be at your leisure. For an example, let's say you are looking at it in this self-service way, like you're just giving yourself to something. It doesn't play out like that in the spiritual world. When you do self-service, mentally, you already convinced yourself not to expect something externally. So you already seen results of you having your own mind and body going through a self-service. Like whatever you did was a self-service that you know mentally and physically you put yourself in a better mental and physical position than your friend, family, associate, coworker, right? So you end up manifesting a situation where even if it comes to money, you got it to give. You see what I'm saying? So then when you're in that position, you can compare and contrast and be able to shame when a person want to take an inch and take a mile after it, whether family, friend, associate, or coworker. That's self-service. When you do it the right way, self-service is it's like something that it was a service to yourself first, that it had nothing to do with the external world, and you start realizing that's how you even obtain the shit in the external world. Oh, then you don't get lost into another way of trying to do it, the other way, self-serving. Because when you go about it that way, let's say if you do catch shortcuts or you do get with a group of people who can rob banks real good or whatever like that, self-serving doesn't do you no self-justice or self-service. It'll be something internally that you're not fulfilled. It'll be something that you end up making a mistake, and whatever that you got still didn't do you no self-service, and you will still be in a synthetic version of self-service. People needing you for all the wrong reasons. You being lit for all the wrong reasons. You being a cause for something for all the wrong reasons. You see what I'm saying? It's you do it in reverse. That's how you live in reverse, and you make a mistake. So you have to be careful not to get lost into the synthetic world, because it's a fermentation of the bubbles that we're already condensing. And I already broke down the last live stream. So before these go on Patreon and shit like that, because I put every on the 21st on Patreon, but I do leave certain stuff up too. You know what I'm saying? But it's just for the situation of knowing how to fermentate, so you even got a seed, so you don't even care if it's valued or not. You know it's valuable, and it always has a pocket. Even when there's no one around, you can get yourself out of a funk planting that seed. So it's always good to ferment. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to have no seed to germinate to even produce no fruit, and have many other seeds in it and stuff like that that you can give to others, and they can plant their garden and stuff like that. So even when you're not around, it's the same concept of bringing a person to the ocean, but allowing them to build their own cup. You ain't never got to worry about them rebelling. Never got to worry about them hating. All that energy, or wanting to take something from you, all that energy come from, that's what that person wanted to do anyway. And the atmosphere world is only projection, because thoughts and feelings is how you move. So forward is going, so moving forward is persevering, intent. Moving left is separating, feeling. Moving up is optimism, feeling. Moving right is connecting to something, feeling. Moving down is depend or depressing type feeling. Not how y'all looking at it as a good and bad, just feelings. You could depress or compress yourself in something as a camouflage. AKA a lot of y'all practice white and light and dark and black magic when you do it the negative way. But when you do it the right way, you just know that you're protecting an emotion from being expressed. So you compress your spirit in an emotion and don't let it go on the cycle to be exposed outwardly, because you know that emotion come with something that you have manifested with it physically, that it could be getting taken advantage of. So if you don't even let a person know that you're open or gullible or wet or green, then for the most part, that you camouflaging and even acting like you don't got it, even if behind closed doors you do got it. So you know this synthetic feeling ain't yours. It's just something you're wearing at the moment. Even if you got to act like you're just depressed as this family member or this coworker that's talking your eardrums off, because they got this ego to make themselves think that their problem's the only thing that matter, and somebody feel like hearing that shit at work. But however the case may be, you know what I'm saying? You got to put on a fake smile, whatever. But these is energies. It's a right way and a wrong way to do things, not good or bad. And when you learn that into the synthetic world down here and start looking at the good and bad, you start doing things the right and wrong way. So even when you got to do bad, you did it for righteous reasons and shit. And you cold. You start learning linguistics. You start learning how to not even be in these situations to even have to act out that power in the first place. You get along with everybody, and you can only develop people who up under jealous gods at that point. Because you end up becoming one with the holy ones. And ain't nobody powerful to them. No God titles, none of that shit. Goddamn, no, that's the whole Jehovah children. What the hell? You can't fuck with them. You know what I'm saying? It's the holy bodies, the lighter bodies. You're trying to get to a lighter body. You made a lighter body and condensed into a heavier one. But it's still a lighter body than another species. You know what I'm saying? You're like an atmospherical being, an AHTMOSDYEPI to a sea creature. You know what I'm saying? The goldfish is more of an atmosphere being to the sea creatures at the bottom of the sea. You know what I'm saying? Birds is at the top of the sea in our concept. Reaching the top of the sea got a focus point where all the atmosphere condensed before it produced as water. That's the sun and a reflection of the moon, and the reflection of it, of the atmosphere, which is the moon. So the sun is the focal point of reaching the egg and being born out in the world. But being born out in the world, we share the same existence. You're being born out in that type of mind. So as a spirit, is all location. You got to know where to go in the spiritual world to develop those bubbles and harness that. And when you do it more like the being we in, or let's say you go outside this being as a spirit, you fly in your spaceship, you go in your bubbles, you go outside this being, so you're around in the holy earth, around things that ain't got nothing to do or don't represent the same mind that condense as blood cells as this being we in. But it might got some ideas that represent something that you can use. You'll jump in that spirit space, take their substance bubble, add it to yours, come back in this being. It might not be relatable or in sync. So to you, it's thoughts and actions that you're getting ready to project outwardly that's unrelatable, toxic, something you about to do to the land, something you about to do to your own body or somebody else, their mental body or physical body. So I'm saying the mental body is the bubble. So a lot of times you can die and go to that world. That'd be a hell to you though, because a lot of times it's like that you going amongst other spirits and shit. And you know what I'm saying? So as Yahlahuè, because Yahlahuè had a peace pipe. You know what I'm saying? That's how we bring Yahlahuè and Yahlahuè children and that type of mathematics, like me back here and stuff like that, and Native Americans and shit. Now, for the most part, is the thing. Now, as a spirit, I know how to travel so much. I'm in the head space. So we all in the same space in the absolute earth. We all got spaces. We all in our own worlds, in our own teamwork based dream work pockets. Our minds, 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Then we all have this type of realm reality of experiencing death, but the transition, the day-to-day of it, 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. But we're always the spirit first, right? So when you understand your first body, this gets you more in charge and knowing that we make bodies first for ourselves. And when we connect it, that's the first form of sex. But there's this atmosphere and environment that once we make the organ, we just look like we're connecting physically and stuff like that to produce more physical forms. But in order to even do that, gotta have a mental connection with someone first. You know what I'm saying? It's like for a group of men to build a business together and a man with a woman to have a connection, for her to feel safe, to open her vortex to his mental concept, to be sucked into her mental concepts and all that substance, along with other spirits in y'all spiritual pocket, to have that substance and have that first mind who got similar thoughts to live inside of y'all and portal each other through the same way you did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times y'all be bringing back y'all parents or y'all aunties or y'all uncles, same way how you was your mother or your father or your auntie or your uncle. You know what I'm saying? Same shit. Your mother or your father, auntie, uncle, or your best friend, or however the circumstance or situation it may play. Right? So once you understand that's the first body, now we make imagination, which is the mind, out of the waters we in. So when you know how to get in the right waters, you know how to travel to the area that's closer to the thing that you're made in that pocket of. So you live in that person's world, mind, and their body, environment. And even if you go outside of it, like I just explained, but you find something that this being we in, Yahlahuè, is more relatable to, you bring it back and to the blood cells, other humans and animals, and with nature, you end up being a lit type of person. It just look like something that's attractive about you, even if you're an ugly person, whatever you're bringing to the table, quality-wise, charismatic gift-wise, all the way to invention-wise and technology-wise, however the case may be. So I'm saying? If it's more relatable and sync. We all doing the same thing, and what we do is how we do it. We can do it for reprobate reasons or phony reasons, right? Because a lot of times you can get too lost in being like, well, intelligence means technology, but if it's just blowing everybody up and people forgetting how to remember numbers and things of that nature, it's always going to be some kind of situation where the body we in and the blood cells in it, like, that shit not even needed. We don't give a fuck about that. We want to live like this better. You know what I'm saying? And add the other shit that's useful. Separate the shit that ain't. Take the meat, leave the bone type shit. Pause, no homo. Now, but for the most part, boom, I done became a bird and going through many lives. So for the most part, as a spirit, when you get to that travel, you end up learning more mathematics of how this mind work. So then when you outside and come back in to with your mind and come back into your silver tethering cord, your organ, you get to bring that comprehension into your most low vibrational, rooted, invested experience that you're harnessing as a bubble conditioned as flesh before it expires. And you're showing everybody how to spiritually expand using a mind that been in and became this body to make a better mind, to make a better body with the help of that one. So your mind and body is always a stepping stool, not a something that you're in and you're just in survival mode and it's just one life. That's it. No, it's a stepping stool. Your mind and your body become the next layer that's weaker, but just a supporting system for what you're creating new. Just like what's first shall be last, last shall be first. You're more rooted in the root chakra, but the layer that you're new to, that you act more childish like, is the upper hemisphere chakras, your mind, your thoughts, your bubbles, before it condensed to become the physical root chakra that's already in the process and heat of, is already rapidly bubble fleshy fluid, bubble fleshy fluid, bubble fleshy fluid. You got the bubble guts. But other than that, like I said, right, at the same time, is just that so you're just scattered, but you're not understanding that's the baby. So even in like Catholicism or Christianity, that's what the baby represent with wings. And when you have a baby thought that want to be mannish and being an adult, but your spirit ain't trying to go through that genuine process, here's another concept of Lucifer, the Lucifer idea, being a baby, but being cast out because you're childish in a negative emotion. So this emotion that you in that's pure becomes something that has already been an extension before you. So you're supposed to know better, but you already look like you're going down the train of thought and line of reasoning of not doing better. So you're supposed to know better, but you end up going down not doing better. So you start to question why you have to do better. So that's you being in your own mind, Yahlahuè, wanting the world around you to be like you, but you lack layers and lack comprehension of understanding why you lack layers. So you cast yourself out, not you being casted out. But if you lost in reverse in the physical world, you can hear stories about this as something being cast out, but it's truly just something with grace that come from there trying to cope and not take accountability. You know what I'm saying? But it's where you at, and it's where you need to learn right now why you got grace to get out of. You see what I'm saying? Because can't nobody put nobody nowhere but themselves. So that's why God gave us the opportunity to make up our own mind. So it's up to you as a spirit to find that spiritual location that you could bounce your mind back and forth with that mind. So then when you go to your organ mathematical system made out of your mind with your spiritual root race, you could show them the way. New WURLDIAH, baby. Show them a way to a better world. Show them a way to a greater place. Take me to that place. I ain't never been here before. Take me to that place. Oh, that real shit. That's all it's really about. And shit. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes into that, you can do that now. So self-service. What's going to happen that's different than what you think it don't make sense? Your mind state going to be better. You're going to be around people where you don't even have on your mind no Robert Greene kind of tactics. And that mind state is going to bend into something y'all don't be paying attention to, but it matters the most. Your adrenaline and your actions and your organs is in a better state. Not in that state when y'all depressed about y'all bills. Not in that state when you depressed about what you're going to do when you turn 18. Not that depressed state, you see what I'm saying? And then your spirit going to feed for more of those circumstances. But if you don't understand exactly what I'm saying, you're not going to know that's what the spirit is feeding for. And that's what the culture and church need to be built around. So even when we're all spread it out and we're not together yet, there's circumstances and networks that's for us. You know what I'm saying? That give us strength. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have to be in no pocket of even having to be forced something down our imagination to talk about that get us shadow banned or get us blocked. We could just be in our own world and mind our business. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, even that manifests jealous gods. But I love all y'all from the bottom of my heart. Flight boss, bitch, you know. For sure. You're not listening to the mind of that TRANSMUTE. I'm the Royal Archangel Uriel. I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities.